1 year had passed since the Galactic Council ship first appeared above Earth. The deadline had arrived. Humans around the world watched their screens and looked up at the sky, waiting to learn their fate. President Lisa Winters stood in the United Nations building with her advisors. The room was silent, except for the soft sound of breathing. Dr. Martinez squeezed the president's hand for support. "Whatever happens," Winters said quietly, "I'm proud of what we've done." The giant screens in the room suddenly lit up. The face of High Executor Zilthrin appeared, his gray skin looking paler than before. "People of Earth," he began, his voice echoing through speakers worldwide. "The Galactic Council has reached its decision regarding your planet's status." Zilthrin paused, and for a moment, everyone feared the worst. "The Council hereby rescinds its ultimatum," he continued. "Earth will not be required to dismantle its space infrastructure." A cheer erupted in the room. People hugged each other with relief. But Zilthrin wasn't finished. "Instead, we propose a new arrangement. The Cooperative Development Accord will allow Earth to continue its expansion into space, with Council oversight and exchange programs to ensure mutual understanding." The screens changed to show Elder Vashti, the ancient Council member who had questioned their approach to Earth. "For too long, the Council has used threats to control species we deemed dangerous," Vashti said. "This approach has failed. By threatening species, we created fear and resistance. Earth has shown us another way." Vashti's wrinkled face showed a gentle smile. "You responded to our ultimatum not with weapons or surrender, but with knowledge and generosity. This is unprecedented in Council history." The announcement continued with details about the new accord. Earth would keep its colonies on Mars and Europa. Humans could continue to explore space, but with Council representatives joining their missions. In return, Earth would share its environmental restoration technology with worlds that needed help. When the transmission ended, the celebration began. People around the world cheered and danced in the streets. The threat that had hung over Earth for a year was gone, but for President Winters and her team, the work was just beginning. They met with Admiral Harris to discuss next steps. "This is a huge victory," Harris said, "but we need to be careful about the details of this accord." Winters nodded. "I agree. We've earned their respect, but we need to make sure this partnership is fair." Dr. Martinez studied the full text of the Council's proposal on her tablet. They want to establish a joint research station in neutral space. They're calling it Harmony Station. Who will lead this project? Winters asked. "They've requested William Nash," Martinez replied. His work combining Earth ecology principles with space habitat design impressed them. Nash was called into the meeting. He was a quiet man with kind eyes who had spent his career designing sustainable space habitats. "They want me to lead this project?" he asked, surprised. "I'm honored, but why me?" "Your designs bridge our approach with their technology," Martinez explained. "You represent the best of what humanity has to offer." Nash thought for a moment. This could be the greatest learning opportunity in human history. Working directly with species from across the galaxy. Winters smiled. "Will you do it?" "Yes," Nash said simply. "For Earth's future." Over the next few weeks, more details emerged about the Council's change of heart. The Erythi and Merlon representatives revealed that many Council species had been impressed by Earth's response to the ultimatum. "Your approach challenged thousands of years of Council thinking," the Erythi explained during a meeting at the White House. "Species that advance quickly are not automatically dangerous. Sometimes they can offer new solutions to old problems." The Merlon added, "Elder Vashti reviewed the records of the 3 lost worlds. She found that in each case, the Council's threats may have pushed those civilizations toward destruction rather than preventing it. This revelation shocked many on Earth. The very policy meant to protect the galaxy might have caused the disasters it was trying to prevent. Meanwhile, High Executor Zilthrin faced challenges within the Zorth Imperium. His failure to enforce the ultimatum against Earth was seen as weakness by some. But others, especially younger Zorth, supported the new approach. On Earth, preparations began for the new era of cooperation. Universities created special programs to train people for roles in interstellar diplomacy. Engineers worked with council technicians to combine human innovation with alien technology. Commander Helen Foster was chosen to captain the first joint Earth Council mission beyond the solar system. Her ship would include crew members from Earth and 7 council species. "It won't be easy," she told her team during their first meeting. "We have different bodies, different needs, different ways of thinking. But that diversity will make us stronger." As Foster's ship prepared for its historic journey, engineer Diane Collins worked with council scientists to implement her fusion containment design across the galaxy. Her approach was revolutionizing energy production on dozens of worlds. "I never imagined my work would spread so far," she told a group of students at MIT. "All because we chose to share instead of hide our knowledge." 1 year after the Council's decision, President Winters visited the construction site for Harmony Station. The massive structure was taking shape in orbit between Earth and Mars. Humans worked alongside aliens, building something that had never existed before. A place where species from across the galaxy could learn from each other. William Nash gave her a tour of the partially completed station. "We've incorporated design elements from 12 different worlds," he explained. "The living quarters adapt to the needs of any species. The research labs can support any kind of science." Winters looked out a viewport at Earth, glowing blue in the distance. "A year ago, we thought we might lose our place among the stars," she said. "Now we're helping to change how the galaxy works together." Nash nodded. "It's ironic. The Council threatened us because they thought we were dangerous. But their threat gave us the opportunity to show who we really are." As Winters returned to Earth, she reflected on the strange journey of the past 2 years. The Galactic Council had appeared without warning, bringing an ultimatum that could have ended humanity's dreams of exploring space. But by responding with generosity instead of fear, Earth had transformed a potential enemy into a partner. The stars, once used as a warning, now beckoned as a shared frontier. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy, not through power or defiance, but through the simple act of offering knowledge with open hands. And across the galaxy, species that had lived under council restrictions for thousands of years looked to Earth with new hope. Perhaps there was another way to live among the stars, not through control and fear, but through cooperation and shared discovery. The threat had backfired in the most unexpected way possible, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The starship glided silently through the darkness of space. Inside, Krozik stood at perfect attention outside the ambassador's quarters. 9 feet tall with scales that shimmered blue and green in the ship's lights, Krozik was an impressive sight. 4 muscular arms remained perfectly still, each one capable of crushing metal. 3 yellow eyes scanned every corner of the hallway, missing nothing. Krozik had been a bodyguard for the galactic hegemony for over 300 years. In all that time, no one had ever harmed any official under Krozik's protection. This perfect record was a point of pride. The door slid open. Ambassador Zul Thip emerged, thin and tall with gray skin and large black eyes. He wore elaborate robes, covered in symbols of his high rank. "Walk with me, Krozik," the ambassador said. Krozik fell into step beside Zulthip as they moved through the ship's corridors toward the command center. "We will reach the human planet in 6 hours," Zulthep said. "I have studied the reports. These humans are primitive, weak bodies, short lives, Simple weapons. He made a dismissive gesture with one of his long fingers. The hegemony only sends me to observe their weakness up close before we take their world. Yes, Ambassador, Krozik replied in a deep voice. I will ensure your safety at all times. Zulthip nodded. You always do. That is why you are my bodyguard. 300 years without failure. They entered the command center where the ship's captain waited. On the main screen, a blue and green planet grew slowly larger as they approached. Earth, the captain said. Third planet from their star. Rich in resources, the humans have only basic space travel. They have never met beings from another world. Krozik studied the planet. Something about it caused an odd feeling, like a faint itch under the scales. In 3 centuries of service, Krozik had visited 87 worlds, but none had created this strange sensation. The humans have agreed to a meeting, the captain continued. They believe we come in peace. He laughed, and the ambassador joined him. Krozik remained silent. The hegemony had conquered 32 worlds in the last 500 years. Some fought back, some surrendered. In the end, it made no difference. The hegemony always won. Krozik, your orders are simple, Zulthep said. Protect me at all times. Help gather information about human weaknesses. The fleet waits at the edge of this system. When I give the signal, they will come, and this planet will join the hegemony. I understand, Ambassador, Krozik said. Later, in private quarters, Krozik prepared for the mission. Weapons were checked and hidden within the special armor that would be worn on the planet's surface. The odd feeling persisted as Krozik thought about the humans. The briefing files described them as primitive but clever. They fought wars against each other constantly. They had many languages and cultures. They were emotional and unpredictable. Krozik had never failed a mission and didn't plan to start now. And yet, that strange feeling wouldn't go away. The ships. Computer announced, entering Earth orbit in 1 hour. All diplomatic personnel prepare for landing. Krozik met the ambassador in the shuttle bay. 6 other hegemony officials joined them, each with their own role in the fake diplomatic mission. They wore their formal attire, designed to impress. Primitive species. Remember, Zulthip told the group, smile at the humans. Make them think we come as friends. Our real purpose stays secret until the fleet arrives. They boarded the shuttle, and Krozik took position next to the ambassador. The small craft detached from the main ship and began its descent toward Earth. We will land near one of their small settlements, the pilot announced. The humans call it Miller's Creek, population 8,000. They have prepared a welcome area in an open field. Through the viewport, Krozik watched the blue sky of Earth grow closer. Clouds parted as the shuttle dropped lower. Green fields and clusters of buildings came into view. The pilot guided them toward a large open area where small figures could be seen waiting. Humans, Zulthep said with disdain. Look how small they are. The shuttle touched down gently on the grass. Krozik checked the atmosphere readings. The air is safe to breathe, Ambassador. Gravity is slightly less than our home world. Zulthip nodded. Open the doors. Let us meet these humans. The shuttle door lowered slowly to form a ramp. Bright sunlight streamed in. Krozik moved first, stepping out to scan for threats. The warm sun felt pleasant on scaled skin. A light breeze carried strange new smells. About 50 humans stood in a loose group 30 paces away. Some wore matching dark clothes that Krozik recognized as military uniforms. Others wore more colorful clothing. They stared with wide eyes at the first alien they had ever seen. Krozik moved down the ramp and took position. The ambassador followed with the rest of the delegation behind him. A human stepped forward from the group. He wore a dark suit and had gray hair. On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you. I am Mayor Frank Bell of Miller's Creek. The ambassador stepped forward. I am Zulthip, ambassador of the Galactic Hegemony. We come to establish relations between our civilizations. The human called Frank smiled, but Krozik noticed sweat on his forehead and tension in his stance. He was afraid, but trying to hide. It's smart. More humans approached cautiously. One caught Krozik's attention. A female with long brown hair wearing a blue dress. Unlike the others, she showed more curiosity than fear. She smiled at Krozik directly. That's Amy Porter, Mayor Bell said, noticing where Krozik was looking. She's our town librarian. She volunteered to be part of the welcome committee. The human female named Amy stepped closer and looked up at Krozik with clear brown eyes. Hello, she said simply. In that moment, everything changed. Krozik's Stasis had limited telepathic abilities, just enough to sense immediate danger. But when Amy spoke, Krozik felt something never experienced before. A wave of emotions flowed from the human. Wonder, kindness, hope, and a genuine desire to understand. It hit Krozik like a physical force. For the first time in 3 centuries of perfect service, Krozik faltered. One step backward. A small gasp. Is something wrong? Zulthip asked sharply. No, Ambassador, Krozik replied, regaining composure. Just adjusting to the planet's atmosphere. But inside, confusion reigned. What had just happened? How could this small human create such a powerful reaction? Throughout countless missions on dozens of worlds, nothing like this had ever occurred. As the formal greetings continued, Krozik watched Amy Porter. She spoke kindly to everyone, alien and human alike. When some small human's children snuck past the security line, she gently guided them rather than scolding them. They're just curious, she explained to the ambassador, who looked annoyed. At the interruption, children naturally want to learn about new things. Zulthep gave a diplomatic smile, but Krozik heard him mutter under his breath. Primitive species. Their young are as undisciplined as they are. A cold feeling settled in Krozik's stomach. For the first time ever, the ambassador's words seemed wrong, very wrong. The welcoming ceremony continued, but Krozik barely noticed. 300 years of certainty had been shaken by a single human smile. The mission to conquer Earth suddenly felt very different. The welcome ceremony moved to the town hall, a simple brick building with a clock tower. Inside, tables were set with food and drinks. Humans and aliens stood in awkward groups, trying to talk despite their differences. Krozik remained close to Ambassador Zulthip, as duty required, but the bodyguard's 3 yellow eyes kept finding Amy Porter in the crowd. She moved easily among people, introducing humans to the alien visitors. Her smile never faded. These creatures are so primitive, Zulthip whispered to Krozik. Look how they waste time with this ... celebration. A hegemony would have already taken control of 3 cities by now. Krozik nodded, but felt uncomfortable. For the first time, the ambassador's words seemed cruel rather than practical. A small human child approached Krozik, staring up with wide eyes. You're really tall, the boy said, and you have 4 arms. That's so cool. Before Krozik could respond, Zulthip stepped forward. Go away, small human. We are not here for your entertainment. The child's face fell, and he backed away. Amy appeared beside them. I'm sorry about that. Billy is just curious. She smiled at the ambassador. Children are naturally drawn to new things. It's how they learn. The hegemony children are taught through direct mind training, Zulthip said, coldly. There is no need for this ... curiosity. That sounds efficient, Amy said politely. But don't you think something is lost without discovery? The joy of finding things out for yourself. Zulthip made a dismissive gesture. Joy is irrelevant to progress. Amy looked at Krozik. And what do you think? The question caught Krozik by surprise. No one ever asked the bodyguard for opinions. Bodyguards protected. They did not think. I follow the ways of the hegemony, Krozik said carefully. Amy nodded, but her eyes showed she understood more than Krozik had said. Well, if you'd like to see our library while you're here, I'd be happy to show you. Books are how we share knowledge, across time and space. She handed Krozik a small card with an address. We have a special collection on different cultures. You might find it interesting. After she walked away, Zulthep took the card from Krozik's hand and tore it in half. Do not be distracted by these humans. Remember your duty. Yes, Ambassador, Krozik said automatically. But inside, something had changed. The delegation was shown to their quarters, a small hotel that had been cleared of other guests. Security personnel stood outside, though they posed no threat to Krozik. The bodyguard could have defeated all of them in seconds. That night, as the ambassador slept, Krozik stood by the window looking at the small town under the stars. The strange feeling had grown stronger. 3 centuries of loyal service weighed against one afternoon of new thoughts. Krozik made a decision. Taking care to move silently, the bodyguard slipped out of the hotel and into the night. The card Amy had given was torn, but Krozik had memorized the address. The library was a small building with stone steps leading to a wooden door. A sign said, "Closed," but light shone from a window. Krozik hesitated, then knocked gently down. After a moment, Amy opened the door. She didn't seem surprised. I thought you might come, she said, stepping aside. Please, come in. The inside of the library was filled with shelves of books. The smell of paper and binding glue filled the air. Amy led Krozik to a sitting area with chairs too small for the alien's large frame. I can find something more comfortable, she offered. This is fine, Krozik said, carefully sitting on the floor instead. I should not be here. The ambassador would not approve. Amy sat in a chair across from Krozik. But you came anyway. Why? The question hung in the air between them. Krozik had never questioned orders before, never broken protocol, never sought out a being from another species for ... conversation. I felt something when we met, Krozik said finally. Something I do not understand. Amy nodded. I felt it too. Like a connection. My species has limited telepathic abilities, Krozik explained. But usually we only sense danger or threats. With you, I sense ... more. What did you sense? Amy asked softly. Kindness, Krozik said. Hope, curiosity, things the hegemony considers weaknesses. Amy smiled. We humans often find strength in what others call weakness. She reached for a book and opened it. This is a history of our world. We've had terrible wars, destruction, cruelty. But we've also had heroes who saved others at cost to themselves. People who chose kindness when violence would have been easier. Krozik listened as Amy read stories of human bravery and compassion. Tales of people who risked everything to help strangers. Of enemies who became friends. The hegemony would not understand this, Krozik said. They believe strength comes from control and conquest. And what do you believe? Amy asked the question, struck like a physical blow. In 300 years, no one had asked what Krozik believed. Bodyguards did not have beliefs. They had orders. I don't know anymore, Krozik admitted. The hegemony raised me, trained me, gave me purpose, but ... But, Amy prompted gently, they plan to conquer your world, Krozik said suddenly. This diplomatic mission is a lie. They study your weaknesses. When the ambassador gives the signal, the fleet will come. Your people will be enslaved or worse. The words hung in the air between them. Krozik had just committed treason against the hegemony. The penalty was death. Amy's face paled, but she remained calm. "Why are you telling me this?" "I don't know," Krozik whispered. "I've never betrayed my duty before." Amy reached out slowly and placed her small hand on Krozik's scaled arm. The touch was gentle, but Krozik felt it like fire. "Maybe you found something more important than duty," she said. They talked until the sky began to lighten. Amy explained more about humans, their hopes, dreams, fears, and love of freedom. Krozik described life in the hegemony, where order and power were valued above all else. "I must return before the ambassador wakes," Krozik said finally, standing. "He must not know I came here. What will you do now?" Amy asked. Krozik looked down at her, such a small, fragile being. Yet she had changed everything. "I don't know," Krozik admitted. "For the first time in my life, I do not know what comes next." As dawn broke over the small town, Krozik slipped back into the hotel. The ambassador still slept, unaware that his perfect bodyguard was no longer quite so perfect. Back in position by the window, Krozik looked out at Earth's morning sky. The hegemony fleet waited at the edge of the solar system. They would come when called. They would destroy this world and its people, unless someone stopped them. The thought was treasonous, dangerous, impossible. But as the sun rose over Amy's town, it didn't feel impossible anymore. Morning brought a meeting between the alien delegation and Earth's leaders. They gathered in the town hall's large meeting room. Krozik stood behind Ambassador Zulthip as always, but everything felt different now. Mayor Frank Bell introduced several important humans who had arrived overnight. A woman named Susan Carter represented the world government. A man called Alan Green led the military forces. They sat across from the aliens at a long wooden table. "We are honored by your visit," Susan said. "This is a historic moment for Earth." "Ambassador." Zulthep smiled his fake diplomatic smile. "The galactic hegemony wishes to establish peaceful relations with your world." Krozik watched the ambassador lie smoothly. Once, these lies had seemed normal. Now they made Krozik's stomach tight with discomfort. Amy Porter sat in the back of the room taking notes. She caught Krozik's eye briefly, but gave no sign of their secret meeting. "We have prepared a tour of our region," Mayor Bell said. "You can see our farms, factories, and cultural centers." "Excellent," the ambassador replied. "We are most interested in your ... infrastructure." Krozik knew what that meant. The hegemony wanted to identify targets for the invasion: power, plants, communication centers, military bases. The information would help them crush Earth's defenses quickly. The meeting continued with polite talk that meant nothing. Humans asked questions about alien culture. The ambassador gave carefully edited answers that revealed little. After the meeting, the tour began. The delegation was loaded into large vehicles called buses. Krozik sat beside the ambassador as they drove through the town. "Notice how primitive their buildings are," Zulthep whispered. "Their military leader seems competent, but their weapons will be no match for ours." "Yes, Ambassador," Krozik replied automatically. They visited a power plant first. Zulthep asked many questions about how much of the region it supplied. The human guides answered honestly, not realizing they were giving valuable invasion information. Next came a hospital. The ambassador showed special interest in the emergency systems and backup generators. "Your medical technology is interesting," he said to the doctor leading the tour. "Very creative, given your limitations." The doctor smiled, taking it as a compliment. Throughout the day, Krozik watched the ambassador gather information for Earth's destruction. Each stop added to the growing weight in Krozik's chest. The final visit was to Amy's library. Krozik tensed as they entered the familiar building. "This is our town center for knowledge," Amy explained to the group. We collect books digital, information, and historical records. The ambassador looked bored. Actual physical books? How quaint. Amy smiled patiently. Sometimes old technology has advantages. Books don't need power. They can't be hacked. They last for centuries if properly cared for. She led them through the library, showing different sections. When they reached a room at the back, Amy opened the door to reveal a special collection. These are our oldest and most valuable books, she said. Some are over 300 years old. The ambassador barely glanced at them, but Krozik moved closer. These objects had existed as long as Krozik had been alive. Humans created them, preserved them, valued them. This one contains our town's history, Amy said, opening a large book carefully. It shows how people worked together during hard times, floods, storms, economic troubles. Krozik looked at the pictures of humans helping each other, building together, saving each other. Why waste resources on the weak? The ambassador asked. The hegemony allows the strong to survive and the weak to perish. It makes our species stronger. Amy looked directly at him. We believe helping others makes us all stronger. One person alone is limited. Together, we can do so much more. The ambassador laughed. A charming philosophy, but inefficient. As the group moved on, Amy handed Krozik a small note. The bodyguard quickly hid it, heart racing at this dangerous communication. That evening, back at the hotel, Ambassador Zulthip called the delegation together. We have seen enough, he announced. These humans are even weaker than we thought. Their technology is basic. Their military is small. Their resources are ripe for taking. He smiled coldly. Tomorrow I will contact the fleet. We will conclude this diplomatic farce. The other aliens nodded in agreement. None questioned the plan to conquer Earth. Krozik, remain alert tonight, the ambassador added. Some humans looked suspicious today. They may suspect our true purpose. Yes, Ambassador, Krozik said. Later, alone in the hallway outside the ambassador's room, Krozik finally read Amy's note. Midnight. Back door of library. Important. The hours passed slowly. When midnight approached, Krozik faced a choice that would change everything. Stay and serve the hegemony as sworn to do, or go and betray 3 centuries of perfect service. The choice was impossible, and yet somehow it felt already made. Moving silently, Krozik slipped out of the hotel again. The streets were empty under a sky filled with stars. The library's back door was unlocked as promised. Inside, Amy waited. But she wasn't alone. Mayor Bell was there. So were Susan Carter and Alan Green from the morning meeting. Thank you for coming, Amy said. I told them what you told me about the invasion. Krozik froze. You told them I betrayed the ambassador? Alan Green stepped forward. She told us you chose to warn us. There's a difference. We need to know everything, Susan said. When will they attack? How many ships? What weapons do they have? Krozik looked at their faces, worried, frightened, but determined. These humans faced a threat beyond their understanding, yet they weren't surrendering. They were planning to fight. The fleet will come when the ambassador calls them, Krozik explained. Probably tomorrow. 20 warships wait at the edge of your solar system. Their weapons can destroy your cities from orbit. You cannot fight them directly. There must be something we can do, Mayor Bell said. Krozik thought for a moment. The ambassador carries a signal device. If it were damaged, he couldn't call the fleet immediately. You would have more time to prepare. Can you damage it? Alan asked. The question hung in the air. What they were asking was not just betrayal. It was active sabotage against the hegemony. Amy touched Krozik's arm gently. I know we're asking something terrible of you, but our whole world is at stake. Krozik looked at her small hand on scaled skin. Such a simple touch, such an impossible request. If I do this, I can never return to the hegemony. Krozik said quietly, I will be outcast, hunted, executed if caught. You would have a home. Here, Amy said simply, with us, a home. Not a posting or an assignment. A home with people who asked questions instead of giving orders, who valued connection over conquest. I will help you, Krozik said finally. Tomorrow, when the ambassador prepares to send the signal, I will stop him. The choice was made. 300 years of loyalty ended with 7 simple words. Krozik was no longer the hegemony's perfect bodyguard. Now, somehow, Krozik was Earth's defender. The Galactic Council ship had been above Earth for 8 months now. People had gotten used to seeing it in the night sky, a bright dot that moved slowly among the stars. Children pointed at it and made up stories about the aliens inside. On the Council ship, things were not peaceful. High Executor Zilthrin faced growing opposition from other Council members. The reports from Earth observers were causing problems. Many Council species wanted to know more about human technology and ideas. This situation is unprecedented, said Councillor Vex of the Zorth Imperium. No species has ever responded to restriction. With knowledge sharing. It changes nothing, Zilthrin insisted. Humans advance too quickly. The deadline remains. But not everyone agreed. The Arathi representative, with colorful feathers that showed her emotions, spoke up. I have visited. They're wildlife sanctuaries, she said. They have saved species from extinction. They value life in all forms. The Merlon delegate nodded his large head. Their water recycling systems are remarkable. My people could benefit greatly from such technology. Zilthrin's skin darkened with anger. You forget the 3 lost worlds. Species that advance, too. Quickly destroy themselves and others. An older council member who rarely spoke raised a hand. This was Elder Vashti, one of the original architects of council policy. Everyone fell silent. Perhaps, Vashti said slowly, we should consider whether our approach has been correct. The 3 lost worlds faced our threats with defiance or surrender. None responded as Earth has. Zilthrin couldn't argue with an elder, but he wasn't ready to give up. I will visit Earth myself, he announced. I will see if these reports are accurate. On Earth, the Council observers had spread to every continent. They watched and learned, often working alongside humans. Telex, the blue alien who had visited Mars, was now studying Earth's oceans with marine biologists. Your oceans were once dying, Telex said to Dr. Karin Phillips as they tested water samples from the Pacific. Now they recover. How did humans change their behavior so completely? Dr. Phillips looked out at the clean blue water. We almost lost everything, she answered. Sometimes you need to face disaster before you truly change. Telex made notes in his small device. My species lives in oceans. We might have helped you restore your centuries ago, but council policy prevented. Contact, Dr. Phillips smiled. It's not too late to work together now. In Africa, the Arathi observer studied elephants with wildlife experts. The observer was fascinated by the Earth's effort to protect endangered animals. You created safe spaces for these creatures, the Arathi said to Ranger John Miller. Even though they have no technological value. Miller nodded as they watched a family of elephants at a watering hole. All life has value, not just useful life. That's something we learned the hard way. The Arathi's feathers rippled with emotion. My ancestors said the same, but the council called such views primitive. Miller looked surprised. There's nothing primitive about respecting life. Similar conversations were happening all over Earth. Council observers were seeing humans differently than they expected. Instead of dangerous, unpredictable creatures, they found a species trying to learn from its mistakes. High Executor Zilthrin arrived on Earth with a large security team. President Winters greeted him at a special landing area built for the occasion. "Welcome to Earth, High Executor," she said with a polite bow. "We are honored by your visit." Zilthrin did not return the greeting. "I am here to verify reports from our observers." They seemed too positive to be accurate. Winters nodded calmly. "You may go anywhere and see anything you wish. We have nothing to hide." For 2 weeks, Zilthrin traveled around Earth. He visited major cities, remote villages, factories, and research centers. He watched humans at work and play. His security team recorded everything. Zilthrin was looking for signs of danger or deception. He wanted proof that humans couldn't be trusted with advanced technology. But everywhere he went, he saw the same thing: a species working to repair its past mistakes. The visit that changed everything happened at a small lab in Boston. Engineer Diane Collins was working on her fusion containment system when Zilthron arrived unannounced. Collins wasn't impressed by the High Executor's rank or power. She simply showed him her work, explaining each part in simple terms. "This containment field is based on how planets hold their atmospheres," she explained. "Nature already solved this problem billions of years ago." Zilthrin studied the designs. "This approach is unusual. Council engineers have tried to force containment through strength." Collins nodded. "That's the hard way. We tried that too. Then we realized we should work with natural forces, not against them." She pulled up older designs on her computer. "See, this was our first attempt. Very similar to your Council designs." Zilthrin stared at the screen. The human was right. The early Earth designs looked exactly like Council technology. But they had moved beyond that. "Approach. You improved on Council designs," he said, his voice showing surprise for the first time. Collins shrugged. "We just tried something different. Sometimes a fresh perspective helps." Then she did something that shocked Zilthrin. She sent all her research data to his personal device. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Sharing my work," Collins said simply. "Maybe it will help your people too." Zilthrin left the lab in silence. On his ship that night, he reviewed everything he had seen on Earth. The evidence was clear. Humans were different from the species that had destroyed themselves. They learned from mistakes. They shared knowledge freely. They worked with nature instead of controlling it. Most troubling of all, they were innovating in ways the Council had not done for centuries. Meanwhile, President Winters received an unexpected request. The Arathi and Merlan representatives wanted a private meeting. When they arrived at the White House, they seemed nervous. "What we are about to suggest goes against Council policy," the Arathi said, her feathers tight against her body. "But we believe it is necessary." "We wish to propose an alliance," said the Merlin, "not just between our species and humans, but a new approach for the entire Council." Winters listened carefully as they explained their idea. Several Council species were impressed by Earth. They believed the Council's approach of restriction and isolation was wrong. They wanted to try Earth's method of cooperation and knowledge sharing. "The Council has not changed its core policies in 10,000 years, the Arathi explained. "Many of us believe this has led to stagnation." Winters considered the proposal. "This could put your species in danger," she warned. The Merlin nodded solemnly. "Yes, but continuing as we have is a greater danger. The Council grows weaker while fearing change." After the meeting, Winters called her advisors together. Dr. Martinez was excited by the news. "This is exactly what we hoped for," she said. "We're changing their minds not just about Earth, but about their entire approach to the galaxy." Admiral Harris was more cautious. Zilthrin and the Zorth still have the most power. They won't give up easily. Winters looked at the latest reports from around the world. Council observers everywhere were engaging more deeply with humans, learning and sharing. "We have 3 months until their deadline," she said. "Let's make every day count." As Earth continued to share its knowledge and technology, no one knew what the final council decision would be. But one thing was becoming clear. By responding to a threat with generosity, humanity had already changed the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted.